Hi, it's another Friday and you're welcome to the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwao. Many thanks for making us a part of your Friday. We are building up to an exciting weekend of Premier League football that features the biggest game on the English football calendar, Man United and Liverpool. We'll talk about that a little later. But if you have anything you want to tell us, we'd love to hear from you. So send us a WhatsApp message on the number on your screen, 0550-585832. I would love to read your comments from the people inside Ghana who are watching us on free-to-air digital and even on DSTV channel 363 and GoTV channel 182. And the people outside Ghana who are obviously going to watch us only via DSTV and GoTV would love to hear comments from Ghana, Liberia, Tunisia, Zanzibar, everywhere on the continent that you can get this feed. Would love to hear from you. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guests and we start unpacking the show. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Let me introduce my guest, making another start. From his last start was 2 weeks ago. Last week we benched him. Emmanuel, how are you doing?
I'm good.
All right, and reprising his role in defense is Ahmed Eduna. Say, Ahmed, how are you doing? You seem to be getting a lot of starts. You are very fit.
You're putting a lot of work.
He's been convincing us in the training sessions there. Let's have a look at the fixtures for match week 9. Already we are in the 9th week of the Premier League and it gets exciting. There's a Friday night encounter between Arsenal and Aston Villa. The last time Arsenal played, that was a few days ago on Monday night. They drew 2-2 with Palace. Chelsea and Norwich start us off on Saturday afternoon. Crystal Palace and the new look Newcastle without Steve Bruce. They are also on our menu at 2 p.m. There are other 2 p.m. games. Leeds Wolves, Everton Watford, Southampton Burnley, and the Amex is where we'll go for our 4:30 game involving Brighton and Manchester City. And then on Sunday is West Ham and Spurs in an East versus North London derby. There's Brentford and Leicester City. Leicester City fresh off winning in the Europa League. Patson Daka scoring a poker there. And then the biggest game on the English footballing calendar, the two Reds who don't like each other. The two cities who dislike each other because of shipbuilding and economic reasons is Man United versus Liverpool. Man United versus Liverpool, Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Would it be the last game Ole Gunnar Solskjaer manages, or he will survive and stay and get another life like a cat? Cats have 9 lives, but Solskjaer has about 20. So those are the fixtures. And those games marked live are on Citi 97.3 FM on Saturday and on Sunday. 3 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. So let's start off at the Amex. It is Brighton versus Manchester City. 2 very interesting teams. The highly tactical Pep Guardiola side, but a team in Brighton who, they are very, people don't actually think they are doing a lot of good work, but they are. Under Graham Potter. City are 3rd, Brighton are 4th. Brighton have won 4, they've drawn 3, lost 1, scored 8 and conceded 5. While Man City have won 5, they've drawn 2, lost 1, they've scored 16 and conceded 3. Ahmed, let me start off with you. And these numbers tell us almost everything we need to know about the two teams. One team creates and finishes like crazy. The other team creates a lot but scores just a small number of goals. And Brighton is that team. Scored 8, conceded 5, I think.
Well, for teams like Brighton, I tend to always, go with what the teams like these do. Right from the beginning, of the season, they have to pick as many points as they can because they don't have that squad depth. Manchester City, I've always said that even the second, team can actually vie for the Premier League. So it's always exciting to see teams like this pick up as many points as they can because in the middle of the season, obviously, the injuries come in here and there and they'll not be there. But I like what Potter is doing. It's, again, oftentimes I talk about having a philosophy, having a shape and believing in your players, sort of giving them something to believe in. I think, managers are like Potter. Obviously, they're not going to get the Manchester City or the United to coach, but they sort of understand the materials they have. They know the weakness of their team, and then they have a shape that they play with.
Let me ask you this. Assuming Graham Potter finishes, say, top 10 or top 8 to stretch it, do you think that at that point he should be considered? People should start seeing him as somebody who can start to manage teams like maybe Everton, maybe Spurs, maybe Arsenal. and all the teams in that caliber, maybe if you take out Man City and Liverpool, do you think that, like I'm saying, if he's to finish in the top 10, top 8, should those teams start to look at Potter as somebody who could potentially guide them to big things?
I think so. I mean, we can take a cue from Nuno Santo now at Spurs. We saw what he did with Wolves in the first season. Yes, last season didn't really go well. But again, we sort of came to know who he is, the kind of credentials that he brings to a team, and basically what he can do. So, yes, I mean, if you have Brighton there with a very lean budget, materials that we do not see them to be among the best of the best in the world, but you're able to sort of get the 8th position or 7th or 6th. Basically, these are the positions that Everton, West Ham and co have always been looking out for. Then, yeah, it will make sense for any of these club owners to say, you know what, let us give this guy a chance to see what he can do with a bigger budget.
Okay. Now, against Man City, what should be the plan? We've spoken about Brighton, the lovely football they play. When you go through stats, they tell you that Brighton are a statsman's dream because they have all kinds of interesting statistics. But against Man City, what should be the approach? Should it be go at Man City or do what other teams do, defend, play on the break and stay safe?
I would say try as much as possible to frustrate Manchester City.
Okay.
That is basically how you go against them. You have a team that loves to have the ball all the time. They love to create so many chances. You look at your materials, player by player, obviously they are nowhere closer to Manchester City. So what have they been doing to be at the position they find themselves? They're just below Manchester City, fourth on the table. So stick to that plan, whatever we've been doing, and try as much as possible to frustrate them. Listen, I've always said that as good as Pep Guardiola's sides have always been, if you're bold enough to attack his central defenders, you always stand a chance of getting a goal.
Okay.
And, Guardiola is obsessed with ball playing goalkeepers, ball playing centre backs, and sometimes the basic art of defending is missing in the books of these guys. I still don't trust a player like John Stones when it comes to defending, the ability to defend. Yes, he came in with a lot of money.
The basic job of defending.
What the Italians do at best. And so if he can come out, play the same way he's been playing, get his guys, hit those long balls, go at the central defenders, I'm sure that something will come up. I don't think that they got to the 4th position on the table by this time just by, pure luck. No, it's on merit. They've shown what they're able to do and what they're capable of doing. And so why then, go away from what you've been doing to achieve these points that you have now?
All right, Emmanuel. On the flip side, we've seen Man City. We've seen different sides of Man City this season. The one that lost at Spurs, the one that beat Norwich 5, the one that beat Arsenal 5. But the one that lost to PSG, for example, on the road. And this weekend, they travel again after playing brilliantly against Club Brugge in the Champions League. What kind of City should we expect? And if Pep has to win, how is he going past Graham Potter's team that's disciplined, quite solid, and now they are starting to believe that they actually have the quality to play against these kinds of teams?
Well, I don't think Pep would change his ways. I mean, if it's not broken, there's no need to fix it. Yeah. So I think he will stick to his He will stick to his guns, he will stick to his tactics and whatever he wants to deploy. Now, it's up to Brighton to make the game interesting.
Okay.
As Ahmad said, Manchester City is obsessed with possessing the ball. They're obsessed with covering every blade of grass by just passing the ball, spraying the passes all around and dizzying the defense. But then if you watch last week's game from Burnley did quite a good job to frustrate them. But 2 errors led to two goals on Manchester City's pass, and they didn't take their chance because, I mean, we just went through the highlights. You saw that chance.
Did have a 1v1.
Yeah, that chance that Connie got. He dinks it over the keeper as 1-1. You make the match interesting. So I do believe that Brighton will play with no fear. The main problem will be that how long can they keep their concentration? Because Manchester City will punish you if you give them the chance, as we saw there. A missed kick from the Burnley defender, a cross came in, Bernardo Silva just hits it back in. They will need to concentrate 110% if they want to get anything out of this game.
Okay.
Because regardless of the lineup that Pep puts out there, it's good enough to beat them 4 or 5. So it's down to Brighton and it's down to Graham Potter to win. To win people over. Okay. Ahmad was saying that he's ready to maybe he should get into that bracket. I don't think he has reached that level yet because we saw David Moyes stabilize Everton over a 10-year period, went to Manchester United and made a hall of himself. Even with Nuno, we've seen his struggles with getting to the big boys. I do think sometimes in this life, sometimes there are levels to things. You just stick to your level and then you're okay. But I do like what he's doing with Brighton. you can clearly see that there's a scheme of play. The players have bought into that system. They go onto that pitch and then they play in there. You can also see that the transfers are tied to his tactics.
Yeah.
So he brought in that leg back. I think it's called Cucurella.
Yeah.
Who's been playing
from Spain.
He's been playing quite fantastic.
Graduate.
And with that chance that Nyomope got, that should have been a penalty. They would have beaten Norwich and even been higher in points. So I do think that we can clearly see that they are playing some good football. Some systems are in place. The football is clearly there to see. Yeah. It's up to them to make the Manchester City match interesting, and I hope they do that. Okay,
just a final note. Brighton's scoring numbers don't make for happy reading. They scored only 8 times, and they've conceded 9. What should it concern them as they go into this game, knowing that, one, they may not get enough of the ball to cause problems? How did they go around that challenge of not scoring enough versus, look, we won't get enough, so it means that now we have to be clinical on the day?
I think that's what Nubo talked about. It's how are they, how would they keep that concentration? Because you need to be concentrated in 110%, because in a given chance, Manchester City gets probably a goal. And so the point is here, they're up there, but they've scored 8 and conceded 5, which means that you have a porous defense. And even though
and your attack isn't
that great. I think it is down to the fact that they score goals and sometimes they're able to keep their opponents at bay. But we all know the difficulty in keeping Manchester City at bay. So the only way out would be stick to your guns, make sure you're concentrated, 110%. But is that possible? That's the thing. Because you have a team that can always, spring the changes, and then before you realize, the game is over. And that's the thing. But what Potter has been doing, what we've seen, the system that he has in place, the kind of football he's been playing, it's much more about the players believing in whatever that he tells them, and say that let us stick to this plan, let us do this, and make sure that we minimize the errors. We close the gaps, the passing lanes, and that's very important. Once you're able to close the passing lanes, Manchester City then becomes frustrated because, like you said, they like to spray the ball around. But what if the lanes are blocked? Where do the balls go? But again, can you do that over 90 minutes? That's the bigger question.
Well, we'll see. Graham Potter has got tough questions to answer. That game is on Saturday afternoon at the Amex. It's between Brighton and Manchester City. And let's get to London now, the Olympic Stadium. That's where West Ham will be facing Tottenham Hotspur. West Ham under David Moyes looking really good. In the Europa League, they look brilliant in that tie. While Spurs did not look too good as they traveled to Holland and they lost by a goal to 0. Spurs are 5th as we speak. They've won 5. Drawn 0, lost 3. Very interesting. No draws for them. They're either winning or losing. They've scored 9 and conceded 12. Alarm bells there. West Ham, they are 7th. They've won 4, drawn 2, lost 2. 15 goals scored, 10 conceded. A few alarm bells there, but at least they have drawn games in that encounter. Emmanuel, your thoughts on it? You mentioned Moyes and his level. Yeah. Lots of people seem to think that this works perfectly for him. Perfect. How do they navigate the Spurs challenge under Nuno, fresh of a loss in the Conference League? How do they handle a team that may want to fight back and get something from this game?
Well, if you are talking just based on form and based on how the season has progressed, I would say West Ham are in a better shape to face Tottenham. Tottenham have had their struggles, even though they started the season with a blast by beating Manchester City. They've had their struggles, and it's been evident. 8 games into a season, Harry Kane has scored just 1 goal. So that should let you know that and then Nuno Espirito won his first 3 games by one goal each. Yeah. And even with those 3 goals, one of them was a penalty by Dele Alli, I think, against Wolves. So it's clear to see that Nuno has not settled in so well, even though he's keeping Tottenham somewhere in a good region. They're not so far from the top. But I do think that West Ham are set in their ways now. Moyes has been there for, I think this is 3rd season, if I remember clearly. And he has turned Mikel Antonio, who was more like a utility player,
turned him into a number 9.
Into let me say, a mini Lukaku.
Yeah.
And why not? He actually puts fear in defenders. When they see him come, they know that, no, this guy is going to be a tough game. And I think they experimented with a lot of players, brought in Yarmolenko and all those things. But it looks like the not so fancied players have become the bedrock of the team. He's found a shape, 4-2-3-1. He knows the personnel that go in there. And they've built quite a brilliant portfolio. I do think in certain games, they tend to lose concentration, just like they did with Brentford. Brentford, yes, brought the game to them. They should have, I think, been able to close shop, but then they lost the game in the last minute. But then with Tottenham, I think, is going to be an end-to-end game. It's going to be open, but then I do think that West Ham do have enough to beat Spurs. I'm yet to see Spurs really buy into Nuno's mentality. We know what he did at Wolves, but then at Spurs he's been having a bit of challenges, and their defense has not done well, especially Eric Dyer. I mean, for someone who is a former England international, I don't see how you can just. It looked as if something had. I don't know whether he was going through a spiritual trance or something, but I do understand the Newcastle. If you were watching that Newcastle match, the first 5 minutes it was something else with the crowd. Yeah. But then it looked as if they recovered after that early goal from Wilson. But then I do think West Ham, set in their ways, they know what they're about. Their personnel are bought into the coach's philosophy. I do think they stand a better chance of beating Spurs, especially with Kane not firing.
Yeah, Kane has scored once now. Do you think he now feels a bit of pressure off him? Now he can score a lot more.
See, I think, the goal scoring issues that we have now this season, Kane has got to do with the manager actually not having come out with a very system that fits Kane's style of play.
Okay.
The first few games, I thought he was missing a lot of chances, clear chances. That was very unusual of Harry Kane. But the whole Tottenham setup, I've seen Dele Alli play. I've seen Son. The defenders, I don't even want to talk about them. and everything seemed to be in disarray. But the good thing is that...
that's Harry Kane celebrating his first goal. Initially, it was ruled out for offside, but it looks like he was onside. And he went
but the good thing is that they've found themselves in that region. I mean, they've not really drifted away from the top teams, and that's good. And so that still gives them the room to be able to, sort of turn things around. But looking at this game, I feel it is who wants it more.
Okay.
As much as West Ham are, they've been solid, they've bought into the philosophy of David Moyes and all that. The loss of concentration in some key games, in some part of the games, is something that Tottenham Hotspur can actually capitalize on. But it also means that Tottenham would have to do, done their homework well. Because again, there's no identity to this Tottenham Hotspur team. And for me, it's a bit painful for me because I like Nuno. I think what he did with Wolves was excellent. But when you see a manager go through these patches, it's a little bit, disappointing. And it hurts especially when you hold some of these guys very high standard. So the good thing again is that I think this is the 10th, is it the 9th game? Good. So we still have a lot of games to go, about 29 more games to go. So we still have sort of, maybe the next 3 weeks, sort of find a way, to turn things around. Okay. The Christmas break will come.
You watch them at Newcastle. Do you think it's a viable way to go? Play on the break, exploit the teams that are open, because essentially that's how they won that game. If you look at the Kane to Son goal, it was essentially on the break that they scored. Do you think it's something they should look at, or now they should try and dominate teams, pass them off the park, score 2 or 3 goals and go away?
Well, when it comes to, dominance, you have to ask yourself, do I have ball-playing midfielders? Do I have midfielders that can actually do this? If you don't have them, then you ask yourself, do I have midfielders that can actually win balls every single time, break down plays? And I think they do have players like Hojbjerg and all these guys. And so what do? You have very quick attacking players. There's Lucas Moura, there's Son, there is Harry Kane, there's Bergwijn from Holland. Yeah. So I think it's something that he should be looking at now, and his coaching,
So I think they should try that at West Ham.
Exactly. Okay. I think that will work because the point is that West Ham would like to come at them. With their 4-2-3-1, they have a very, very strong centre forward in Antonio. Similar to Lukaku at Chelsea. So my point is they would like to hit the balls as long as they can, as how many, the number of times they can, because then they also have very good materials that support that style of play. So keep the ball, soak the pressure, just make sure that the schoolboy defending that we've seen, over the past few weeks, doesn't happen, and then hit them on a counter. I don't think that, in as much as West Ham have been solid, I also don't think that they've been that very good with respect to their defense. And so, you can actually make some goals from there.
Okay, all right. So Tottenham Hotspur and West Ham will be featuring in that encounter in East London. Emmanuel, just a final thought on that. Which of the two strikers will emerge tops? Is it Antonio? Is it Kane?
I'm tempted to lean towards Antonio. I'm tempted to lean towards Antonio. Harry Kane hasn't. I think he didn't come into the season in the right state of mind.
Of course, I mean,
with the whole transfer,
the Man City.
He issues a statement as if he wants to leave, something like a goodbye. Then he sees that the transfer was not going to. He retracts it. I'm here to stay. He didn't train for the first 2 games, so I think he didn't. I mean, we all know Harry Kane. He has proven over the last 4 or 5 years that he's really a top striker. So I think he didn't start the season quite well mentally, so we can excuse him. But with the form Antonio is saying, I'm tempted to side with Antonio. He's. I think if you remember the 2013-14 Suarez, he'll chase everything. Like, he doesn't give you any breathing space. Yeah. Any lost cause, he's chasing it and he's turning it to something else. And I think that's the driving force behind the West Ham team. So I think West Ham slightly.
West Ham.
We don't know what Nuno is going to do. You know? He might end up playing Kane on the wings and Son in the middle.
Well, I tell you what. I mean, I'll side with Antonio because Antonio has a system that supports his style of play now. Okay. And Antonio reminds me of Louis Ajima of Hasofoko. When I explained it up him from a defender
to a forward.
And so listen, the system at play.
So if I get you think that the earlier Nuno finds a settled style, the better it will be for him.
Yes, the better. Because when it gets to that crucial part of the season where people, teams need points to survive, no one is going to give you room to come and play and come with any lackluster performance and pick up points. Okay. They will come at you, they will hit you hard, they will try to win. So this is the time. I'm saying, if this is the 9th week, they have maybe about 2 or 3 more weeks to sort their things out. Especially, they are still involved in the Conference League, right?
Yes.
There's a FA Cup, there's a EFL Cup. What are you going to do? The earlier you find a plan, the better. And I think it's getting a little bit late for them.
Interesting. Just final thought. Ahmed mentions the Conference League. Is that a distraction for Spurs? Because they had to play on Wednesday.
Yes. So that gives you very limited time
to prepare for a game, that you are playing on Sunday.
Well, I do think if, as a manager, once you're employed,
okay,
every
they played on Thursday, I'm told.
They played on Thursday.
Yesterday.
Once you are employed, every season you are given objectives. If the Conference League is not an objective, you let the under-23 and the young boys, the players who are trying to pick some form, recovering from injuries, let them play that. You don't concentrate so much energy into that. Because I do know that Tottenham would want to be back in the Champions League, where they were giving us a thriller of matches against Inter Milan and those kind of things. And that's where they do belong. And it's going to be tougher now with what West Ham and Leicester did last season and are doing this season. So I do think your concentration should be on the Premier League. If you pick up a Carling Cup or an FA Cup whilst you're at it, that should just be a bonus.
All right. Send us your thoughts, 0550585832. Would love to read your messages. Spurs fans, West Ham fans, all of that. Chelsea fans, United fans, would love to hear from you on the show. This is the Premier League preview show. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I should read your messages and then we look ahead to the grudge match. It's Man United and Liverpool. We'll talk about that right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Let me read some of your messages. Kwabna Siao Pentop. He keeps sending us Kwabna Siao Pentop. Interesting. He's an Arsenal fan. He says Aston Villa's game won't be easy, but I'll definitely win with Aubameyang on the score sheet. He says, I should ask the Oracle to name his team. Okay, we'll see. Andrew says, Liverpool have no chance. They are losing. Interesting. This one says, I'm surprised nobody... Okay, we are not talking Black Stars Matters. Talk Black Stars Matters later. This one says, it's high time the likes of Mount, Havertz stepped up their game by creating and scoring goals. Now that Timo Werner and Lukaku are out injured, I expect Havertz to score at least 2 from him, 1 from a midfielder and from a defender. Remember, Chelsea played Norwich. And that's from Abu Paul from Lasia Tolu in Wa West. Fosu Kamara says, it's painful how low Arsenal have sunk. They look like a mid-table team. The team has lost its identity with the inconsistent performances under Arteta. You can't predict the kind of Arsenal that will turn up against Aston Villa on Friday. All right, this one says, Arteta and his boys are not serious. 3 losses in a row, 3 wins in a row. Now they're going for a 3rd draw in a row. No improvement at all. All right. Ice Baby says Arsenal will still beat Aston Villa. Interesting. I watched Arsenal play Monday night. Did you see that game on Monday?
Sorry.
From a neutral perspective, it was beautiful chaos.
Yeah.
But we are not talking about Arsenal.
I was gutted for Vieira.
Yeah.
I think they should have just held on for the 3 points. And what you see is that there are so many question marks about Mikel Arteta's ability as a manager.
Yeah. That is quite clear. He got absolutely out-coached.
I mean, if you saw Vieira's reaction when the goal went in, he just sunk to his knees and he was like,
that's every manager's
by this
reaction.
much.
Yep.
By this much.
Abdul from Sakumana says, I think United will beat Liverpool this weekend with that form from the Champions League. Interesting. United fans are feeling excited. That's where we go next. We go to Old Trafford. That's where that game is happening, and it's the biggest game in the English football calendar. Now, forget Man United and Chelsea. Forget all the games you will know or you know about. This is the game that sells the biggest in England. Two teams who don't like each other. Man United, the home team, they are fourth, 1-4 loss, 2 drawn, 10 goals conceded, 16 goals scored. Look at Liverpool's numbers. They are second, 1-5, drawn 3. They are yet to lose. 22 scored, 6 against. A lot of those 22 have come from Mohamed Salah. He scored and created in equal measure. Emmanuel, as a Liverpool fan, you must look at the numbers and be very excited, right? you must be feeling quite glum. Yeah, this Newcastle feeling all good.
I think this Liverpool has a resemblance of the Liverpool we saw, let's say 3 years ago, that won the Champions League and then won the Premier League. Yeah. We are beginning to see a semblance of that, should I say, dominant team that we're just blowing teams away. And it's lovely to watch. It's lovely to watch Salah come into his own again. I think he tends to thrive on people doubting him and not giving him the needed respect. And this season he has scored. I mean, if you listen to the commentary from Peter Drury, he was like, would he? And then he did. And he's done it 3 consecutive times in a row. You could see that he's full of confidence. Nothing freezes him.
And look, I think that, and Ahmed, maybe I don't know what you make of this, but I think this is the best Salah I have seen ever since he came back to England.
I think minus the first season.
I think so. I think so. And I think Nubo makes a very interesting point. When people seem to doubt him, don't give him the respect, that's when he actually comes into the game. And listen, I think what he's doing now, we've seen Messi score some goals where did that actually happen?
Yeah.
And we're having these kind of moment with Salah.
With Mo Salah.
Did that happen? Did he just do that? I think currently.
And then you have Mo Salah setting up his African brother.
Currently, it has to be between he and Karim Benzema as the 2 finest footballers on form.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm tempted to give it to Salah just because of how difficult it is to do this week in, week out, especially in the EPL, where defenders are coming after you, managers map up strategies to stop you. But some of the things he does, it's just about the ingenuity of Mohamed Salah, and that is what is being exhibited these days, and I love it.
On Sunday, let me say it. On Sunday, they go to Old Trafford. Last season, they won that game by 4 goals. So at the time where United had virtually almost sealed second, Liverpool were trying to break into the top 4. Eventually worked for them. They go into it with roles almost reversed, with United trying to get a run going, with Liverpool feeling very confident. How is this game going to play out? I mean, first of all, how should Man United, let's start from a United perspective, how should United perceive this game? How should they think of this game? How should they approach this game? Knowing that one more bad result and the narrative changes to, are United good enough? Is Ole under pressure? Is he leaving? How should they think about this game and approach it?
Surprisingly, these are the games that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer seem to do well. And for me, I'm not happy about it. I've said it here several times. I do not think that he's good enough for Manchester United. I think the only reason why he's here is because of that 90+3 goal he scored in Camp Nou in front of 90,245, fans.
Do you even remember the exact number?
Yes, with Gianluigi Collina as the centre referee. That is the only reason why he's still at the helms of affairs of Manchester United. I don't think it's good enough, and it's not proving anything to convince me. We saw them against Atalanta. In the first half, they were outplayed, outmuzzled. He had no answers to, Gasperini's Atalanta. It's just by luck that Di Maria was out, and then we saw the comeback. And I tell you, he was dragged to that win by the players. And I think they themselves decided that it's about time we step up and then save this man his job. I don't think it's good enough.
Okay.
But how do they approach this game? Surprisingly, again, this is what he's been good at. We've seen him against Manchester, City.
Yeah.
We've seen him against, some of these top teams. And at times that you think that this man will not be able to pull anything, and he comes out with a surprise. But I tell you what, the Liverpool juggernaut is out to get him. They will grab him, they will slaughter him. It's not going to be a bloodbath, but he has no chance against Liverpool.
He has no chance.
He has no chance on Sunday. And I understand. There was so much noise about Sancho. Bruno Fernandes does what he does best. There's Cristiano Ronaldo, who is more of a liability than asset to this Manchester United team. Because the modern game that we play, your defensive shape starts from your front line. They need to close the gaps. They need to, go sort of put pressure on the defenders. Ronaldo doesn't do that. There was an interesting article by the Athletic that I read after their loss against Leicester City, and they pointed all those things. He does not, sort of support the defensive work of anything, and you can't do this against this Liverpool team that will run at you, and you have Salah in the best form of his life coming at you. I don't think that they stand any chance. Maybe it is these players that will have to convince, they pinch themselves and say that, listen, we are playing, arguably one of the biggest.
And this is Liverpool they are playing against. Some pride is needed.
Because I tell you what, Pepe and Jordan and Sancho, there's no difference. People of Arsenal and Sancho, there's no difference. I've seen there's no difference. The same thing. The money that he came with all the noise, I've seen nothing.
You've seen nothing.
Paul Pogba, and I said Paul Pogba today can be counted as maybe a top 5, midfielder. The following week, he will not even be part of the top 20. Okay. And it's the inconsistency of Paul Pogba that has caused Manchester United, during the time of, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But people don't want to talk about that. And I've always said it. I don't like players who always want to make things about themselves. Paul Pogba comes to the pitch with this hairstyle and everything. Everything should be about him. It's about what you give on the pitch. And that's why the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe KDB, Lionel Messi, can go out there and Mo Salah and do whatever they want to do, because when it is time for them to prove their worth, they give it to us. Pogba, you can't say the same thing about him.
Interesting. From a Liverpool perspective, there's the narrative, no matter how tough it is to explain, they say Solskjaer sometimes comes up with mysterious results. For Liverpool, should that concern them that, look, maybe we could get done by these people because it's us, it's Liverpool, maybe they'll play with a lot of pride. But from a tactical perspective, how should Liverpool approach the game such that when it is 90+3 and 90+4, they are the ones who look likely, or who will look the likelier of taking away all 3 points from Old Trafford?
Well, okay, let me start with the first part of the question. I don't think this Liverpool team will be worried that, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to pull a rabbit out of the hat. I mean, in the last 10 Premier League games, Manchester United has won just 1. They've lost, I think, 6 and drawn 3 or so.
They lost last season's
yes.
tie.
And I think with that, the Liverpool team was actually, should I say, angered because there was a protest and they couldn't play when they had to play, and we had Liverpool had injuries, and there was a match build and all those things. So they were like, okay, we are just here to punish you, to show you something. I could also say that, I mean, the whole lead up to that match with Manchester United resting players, losing against Leicester, and then getting wallowed by Liverpool. I could point to that. But then I think tactically, we all know what Jurgen Klopp is going to do. He's going to play his 4-3-3. We know the front line, we know the back line. It's the middle that
you
would be
mentioned the front
problem.
line, and we've seen this season the changes. The two constants really are Mane and Salah. The variables, Firmino and Jota. Which of the two would make sense on Sunday between Jota and
Firmino starts?
Okay.
I mean, he picks himself up. I mean, he came into the season with a bit of injury, and he had to rest. And we saw when he recovered and he came in against Norwich, we saw what he could. I mean, Watford, sorry. Yeah. We saw him. He banged in a hat trick. He was phenomenal. We saw him against Atletico, even with a boot to his face. he played well. I mean, Atletico put Liverpool on tenterhooks, but they came out. Liverpool came out victorious. So I think Firmino starts.
Okay.
Because this is the kind of game he thrives on. A game where his identity, or what people do not really see about him, oh, he's a number 9, he's not scoring enough. This is the game where what he really brings to the team comes to fore. Okay. So I think Firmino starts. The middle is where the problem will be, because if you watch that game against Atletico Madrid, 2 goals were scored, and most of them were kind of caused by Naby Keita. Naby Keita is a terrific player. We know he has a lot of potential, but in the 4 years he has been at Liverpool, he has not paid back that £54 million that was invested in him. I think he has paid just about 5 CDs. But then he's a fantastic player going forward. He has scored, I think, 2 crackers this season. And it looks like he's coming into form. His fitness is quite steady now.
What midfield mix should Klopp put out there on Sunday?
With the players available, I would go for Milner. Fabinho sits in at the number 6 position. I go for Milner and probably Henderson.
Okay.
Should the game progress in a certain direction, maybe Liverpool is chasing the game, you could sacrifice probably Milner and bring in Jota. But then if the game is settled, you could bring in Curtis or Oxlade-Chamberlain to put in a bit of pace and then chase down players and those things. If Oxlade-Chamberlain should be in form, I would start him in this game.
Okay.
Because when he was in form, if we saw what he did against Manchester City 3 seasons ago, that explosiveness, that drive from midfield, and shooting from outside the box. Okay. That's what set him aside. But then injuries and all those things have rendered him out.
So if I get your point, you feel Liverpool's starting midfield mix should be one that's got a lot of energy about them.
Yes. It has the solidity and then the safety of Fabinho, the experience of Milner, and then the tenacity of Henderson. I mean, if back to the game on Tuesday, I do not know, and it's been something that has been running through. I think I said it the last time I was here. I do not know why, as a midfielder, you let another attacker run past you, and you can foul him, but you let him run past you and let him score a beautiful goal. I, for the life of me, would not understand that. And I think Liverpool are not ruthless when it comes to that. If you watch the 2 goals that we considered against Manchester City, from the midfield, and someone runs about 20-30 yards and you don't bring him down. Pep Guardiola's central midfielders will never allow you to do that. They intentionally create fouls to break up whatever system is going on, to break up the flow of the play. I think Liverpool should be able to do that. Should they do that, I do think Manchester United do not stand any chance.
Ahmed, for United, what midfield mix would make sense? Something that can combat Liverpool, because United will be in a war all through the game.
So the thing is, I can't actually put, pen to paper and say these 3 or these 4, because they are just that terrible. And listen, I hold nothing against Manchester United, but I feel like they are just not good enough. And that is coming from the camp of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
So you feel
you have the materials, but if you have the materials and you can't use them well, that makes you incompetent. Because, and again, if let's say you want to start, do you start Pogba with Bruno and then who, Matic?
Yeah, that seems like a solid line.
Or he might go with his favorite Fred and McTominay.
Well, yeah, I mean, the pasta. Sometimes you need a miracle, and so obviously he can put him there. But if anything, I wouldn't want to start Pogba. I feel that he doesn't track back enough, and against a team like Liverpool, that when you give them the chance, they'll run at you, they'll run over you and everything. You need players that will be able to go toe-to-toe, come in with those professional fouls just to break up plays. Those are very important.
So who do you have in there? You'd have Matic in there?
Bruno should come in there.
So Bruno
should come in there.
Fit to play?
Well, we saw him, right? We saw him against...
up a bit of a knock.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm hopeful that he comes in. So you have Bruno in there, you have your Matic in there, and put in, the pasta. Let's see if we can get some miracles. Yes, and play him. Pogba can come in second half. Let's say if by some miracles, by the pasta, they find themselves leading, then obviously you need somebody that can calm, the game and everything. Because again, it shouldn't be about individuals. this is my problem with most modern day players. The game is a team sport. It's about the team's achievement. When you come on the pitch and you make it about yourself, either with your haircut or that aura where when things don't go your way, it's like always protesting. No, get down, do your job. There's a reason why you're being paid over £200,000 every single week. Okay. You have to do your job and make sure that your job sort of complement your other 9 players on the pitch to give the team the needed win.
We'll stay with Man United. We're supposed to. I mean, today's debate is about United, so I think that we'll just move it on from there. Let me read a couple of messages, and then I can ask you the question for the day. This was the form that Liverpool have. They will massacre United. 1 goal from Mo Salah. Okay, I don't know if that's a massacre though. I don't know. Liverpool to win 2-1. My name is Adin Kwesi Francis. Okay, this one says we are beating Liverpool this Sunday. 4 more for Ole. Mo Salah's consistency is phenomenal. I hope he wins the top scorer this season. This one says you have to understand Ole doesn't have a system that works for his world-class players and average players. The man never trusts his bench. I keep wondering how Klopp sets up his team. He doesn't have a lot of world-class players. And somebody says he has the worst bench amongst the top 4, but he has a system that makes them work. This one says we keep conceding exactly the same goal in every game. Kwesi Onga from Ashoman Estate is asking, you're asking how I feel if Fred starts on Sunday. I really do not know how I feel. It won't surprise me because he plays all the big games. But guys, okay, so let's deal with the main motion of the day. So we're asking, when you look at Man United's erratic form, do you blame the manager or do you blame the players? You seem to blame the manager.
You know my answer. I mean, it's the manager. He's just not. Listen, there are clubs are sort of, we have a caste system when it comes to clubs.
Yeah.
We have the great clubs. We have those that fall below. Yeah. Manchester United is up there with the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Barcelona.
In terms of brand presence, global appeal, history.
What does the CV of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer look like? And I think the mistake we've been making is that not every single club would have a Pep Guardiola. Not every club will have a Zinedine Zidane. Yes, Zidane. Exactly. So, is Manchester United, the current board telling us that when they look at all, the past players of Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer actually stands out to be their best manager? Listen, I don't think David Moyes would have done that terrible compared to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
But 10 months didn't look good at all.
10 months. How many years has Ole Gunnar Solskjaer been in charge?
2, moving on to 3.
Exactly. You cannot compare 10 months to how many months? 24 months? You can't do that.
Okay.
And you see, that 92 squad, are they brothers or whatever?
The class of 92,
that is the problem with Manchester United. And like Gary Neville said, he's not going to criticize the manager because he's his friend, his teammate. That is the problem. But these guys were always on the neck of Jose Mourinho, Louis van Gaal,
Arsene
Wenger,
and then David Moyes, right? So why are they treating this man differently? He's not cut out for Manchester United. He's not. We again, you watch.
Don't you watch some of the performances and say that look, players are also letting themselves down with some of the things they do on the pitch. Players missing chances, Mason Greenwood not passing to his teammates.
Listen, when it comes to top football, you are not going to tell Ronaldo how to shoot. You're not going to tell Paul Pogba how to pass. It's about the systems that you put in place. It's about being able to edge them on. You talk to them. And people said, and I remember during the time Zidane at Real Madrid, people said, well, he wasn't a very tactical coach. It was about the respect that, the players gave him just because of what he has achieved in football. I think where we've got into, Manchester United find themselves in a place where Chelsea found themselves last season, where they had to let their legend go, Frank Lampard and brought in Thomas Tuchel. It's the same thing with Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has shown us week in and week out he's not good enough. An European night in Old Trafford, first 45 minutes, you watch Manchester United with all these guys outplayed, out-taught. There was nothing good right home about Manchester United. Look at the kind of goals they conceded. There is no top club. Yes, we know Barcelona now, they are in their own, different world. None of the top clubs in Europe now would concede those goals against Atalanta. It will not happen because they have managers who are capable of doing the job. So for
so
me,
you just think that Solskjaer
it's not.
is
Yes, he has all the materials.
Okay.
I mean, you have Sancho on the bench. You have listen.
But I thought you said Sancho was not.
He's
good
not.
enough.
This is the point. How good was he at Dortmund?
good.
Exactly. Was it a system that he was thriving in?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Has this man be able to bring out the system that accommodates him? No.
Yes.
So that's the point. What system? How many minutes has he even
No,
gotten?
positionally, how different is he playing?
But has he not played
You see-
more on the left than on the right?
No problem. I do think that the players are doing a big disservice to the jersey they are wearing, which is the Manchester United jersey.
You don't think there's a place for a tactical scheme?
I would lean more towards the players than tactics, because if you look at the team, the first team of Manchester United, player for player, you have Cristiano Ronaldo. You have let's start from the back. You have one of the best keepers in the world. You have David De Gea. You have, a good defensive lateral defenders, Luke Shaw and then Wan-Bissaka. You have Varane now. You have Maguire. You have Eric Bailly. You have a midfield with Pogba. You have Fernandes. You have Rashford. You have Sancho.
Fred and McTominay,
you have Cavani.
who don't seem to know what they're doing.
You have no business losing 4-2 to Leicester City. I do think it's just the players, because they when the die is cast and things are almost over, they know how to turn up and put up a performance. So why not start from the beginning?
Emmanuel, let me ask you
the Manchester United team we are looking at now is actually improved from last season. Last season, the whole season, they did not lose any game away. So it means that they know how to play football.
Yeah.
They know how to win games.
They're
just
but
being
let me
lackluster.
ask you this. Now, you point fingers at players.
Yes.
What if after all of this, everything that Klopp has achieved, and everybody comes down to say that, oh, Klopp won everything because of the players. The players did that by themselves, right? What would you say to that? Because clearly when you watch Klopp play, he has a plan. He wants them to do certain things, and they do those things. They don't go out and run by themselves. So why would you then blame players at Man United and not point a finger at the manager?
Well, the players make the system. So if you are put on the pitch to perform a role, which within your abilities and your capabilities, you can perform that, and you do not do that, I think the more blame should be put on the players. But then, it's football. There are 30 people, there are 30 players in the team. You cannot sack 30 players. It's easier to sack the coach, because the coach is just one man. Because, Manchester United have no business to be struggling. And I think it was a debate we had in one of our football groups.
Right.
With the squad they have assembled, they should be competing for the league and the Champions League.
Okay.
Yes.
So you feel
You have World Cup winners and all those things in your team. What business
switch
do you-
it up, the team will start to improve.
Of course,
You don't think it's the manager's fault?
But that's what I would say. I would say 60 to 70%
It's
the
on
players.
the players. The
Yes.
manager takes 30%.
Let me ask you.
We have to wrap it up. We have to move on.
100% on Lugano Solskjaer. Listen, because you have players like Milner. How old is Milner?
Well, it's probably 36.
36.
Yes. So go to Chelsea. How old is Thiago Silva?
37.
If these guys want to play just by their age and experience, they won't be starting. It's about a manager who is able to tell the weakness and the strength of a player, come out with a system that accommodates these players.
Okay.
And that is basically, you are calling for Milner to start a game against Manchester United. Someone who is 36 years. It's because it's a system in place that will
That will let
accommodate.
him work well.
It's as simple. And then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer he's got nothing.
Okay, all right. I'm sure wherever you are, you can let the debate continue. Emmanuel says players take a good chunk of the blame. Ahmed says the manager, Solskjaer, should take a good chunk of United's erratic form that's been going on. On Sunday, they play Liverpool. Should the result go south, expect a lot more of the Ole out trends to feature in your social media threads. We'll take a snappy break. When we come back, it's time for the FPL zone. Don't go anywhere. Week 9 tips are fire tips. Trust me, I've seen them and I know what I'm talking about. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Now that we are done debating what's happening at Old Trafford, let's pull out our pens and papers. Let's get some education. It's time for the FPL zone. Welcome. This is the FPL Zone on the Premier League Preview Show. The Oracle is already seated. Let's get down to business. How are you doing?
Hi, Nathan.
Lovely jacket.
Thank you very
I
much.
love the color.
But I have a problem.
What's the problem?
Saying Manchester United's problems is partly down to Cristiano Ronaldo no pressing. It's like saying Lionel Messi. It's like blaming Lionel Messi for not winning 50-50 balls in the air if he plays for Burnley. We all knew Ronaldo doesn't press. He was scoring 101 goals for Juventus. It's the manager who needs to find the system. He was sitting there. You decided to come and buy him. So then you make sure that you get the best out of him, not blame him for something we all know he can't do. But let's go down to business.
Is Ronaldo featuring this weekend?
No. Funny enough, and for the first time, he's not featuring. I'm actually advising people to start selling him, because he's not getting value for money. Manchester United's form, of course, you guys have discussed it. It's very erratic. You cannot tell when Ronaldo is going to score or not. And for somebody who's 12.7 million, he should be giving you Salah numbers, 2 goals, 2 assists, double figures almost every week. And he hasn't done that since his the opening game. And you can't necessarily see when he's going to start getting those numbers. So quite a number of people have been asking those questions. Should they sell Ronaldo? And I'm saying yes, sell him. The current run of fixtures Man United have doesn't favour him, and for 12.7 million, I think it's a bit of a waste in fantasy terms. So take him out if you want to replace him. The likes of Antonio, if you don't have him, you can bring him in. Danny Ings, who is doing very well. Jamie Vardy, who's actually leading the points for strikers in fantasy, also looks like a viable option. And he's a whole 2 million less and cheaper than Cristiano Ronaldo. Lukaku's injury has also affected a lot of people, especially because of Chelsea's run of fixtures. A lot of people were banging their hopes on him in the coming game against Norwich and in subsequent games. He's injured. He's out of this one and the Southampton game. So, of course, if you can't sell him, he's one of those players that you should sell him for now. It should be just a one game week option. So you take him out of your team, and the guys have mentioned Vardy has a good fixture. Antonio has a good fixture. Ings has a good fixture against Arsenal today. He has a good record against Arsenal. So these are the 3 options that you could go for. If you have both Ronaldo and Lukaku, then I'm saying just leave the injured Lukaku in your team, because he'll be back next week, and then go for Cristiano Ronaldo. Take him out and replace him with one of the 3 that I've mentioned.
Interesting. Interesting weekend. So if you had to give anybody tips on a captain's pick.
A captain's pick this weekend. Personally, I've captained Kai Havertz.
Okay.
I've gone for Kai Havertz. I took Lukaku out. I had 2 free transfers, so I took Lukaku out, and Saka, who is injured, and I brought in Danny Ings and Havertz, Captain Havertz.
All right, that's the tip from the Oracle in this week's FPL Zone. We are back next weekend with more, and that's our show for today. Many thanks for watching. It's been fun having you around. The fixtures, I don't know if we can flash the fixtures. Well, if we can't, the games are live on Citi 97.3 FM. Like we said, 3 games on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, with the biggest one of the round being Man United v Liverpool, Old Trafford, Sunday afternoon, 3:30 p.m. Thank you for watching. Many thanks for making us a part of your afternoon. Do have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy yourself. We'll catch you next week, Friday.